Welcome back, survivor. If you can hear this, it means you're still alive. This is Jack's Nightmares, and this is your next story. My name is Marco Rinaldi. I'm 36 years old. I used to work at a cafe in Rome, a small one tucked between souvenir shops and the ministry buildings near Via della Scrofa. I wasn't a soldier, a survivalist, or anyone important. I made espresso, cleaned the glass door at closing, and refilled sugar jars when no one asked. Most of my day was spent behind the counter, nodding politely, smiling, trying to look patient with tourists ordering things we didn't serve. When the world started to fall apart, I had no plan. I didn't even own a car. It began slowly, with the news talking about a strange respiratory virus somewhere in the north. They said Milan hospitals were overwhelmed. Then there was talk about neurological symptoms. They played phone videos from hospitals where patients were restrained. Some screamed. Some didn't scream at all, just moved like they were stuck on a loop. A nurse wearing plastic sheeting over her uniform told the camera she hadn't slept in 3 days. I watched it from the cafe's little wall-mounted TV while drying cups. That's the last time I remember thinking anything would stay normal. Rome changed fast after that. The government closed schools and told everyone to stay home, but the metro kept running, and the buses were still full. I remember seeing people wear masks without knowing if they helped. Then came the panic. Pharmacies emptied out. Supermarkets had lines stretching into the street. A woman shouted at a cashier in the shop across from the cafe because there was no paracetamol left. One man pulled a knife at the butcher's over the last chicken. My girlfriend Lara left on the second night of the real panic. She had an aunt near Turney who kept chickens and had her own well. I told her I'd come after my shift. She didn't believe me, but she kissed me anyway and walked out with a single backpack. I never saw her again. I called her twice. Then her phone just rang and rang. I didn't try again after the third day. That same day, sirens ran almost non-stop through Monteverde. I lived in a rental flat not far from Piazza San Cosimato. That night, helicopters passed low and slow across the rooftops, heading northwest. I thought they were military at first, but they didn't come back. I stayed up in the dark with the balcony door locked and didn't sleep. When I looked outside in the morning, the street was empty. 2 buses stood parked without drivers, one still running. The cafe stayed open for one more day. I served coffee to 3 customers. The owner didn't come in. I turned the sign to Chiuso after hearing shouting outside and stayed behind the counter with the lights off. Someone hit the glass once, hard, and kept moving. I cleaned up a broken cup and waited until sundown before locking up. I left the keys on the register. I didn't go back. On the walk home, I saw 5 people. 2 were running. One was trying to start a scooter that had already been knocked over. One man sat in the street and cried. Another walked in a daze with blood on his clothes and didn't respond when I called to him. I turned and walked the long way home. I didn't take the tram. I packed what I could. Cans, a rain jacket, phone charger, some cash, and a claw hammer I had in a drawer. A man from the 3rd floor, Andrea, an accountant, knocked on my door the next morning. He said the highways were blocked and the police weren't answering. He knew a man with a sailboat at Ostia. He said the sea might be safer. I didn't argue. I had no better idea. We left that night. The man he knew was named Salvatore, but he was already gone. He had left the key in a flower pot outside his ground floor flat. Andrea knew where to look. We took the train from Trastevere to Lido Centro. No conductor, no police, no one checked anything. The station was lit, but no one stood on the platforms. It was cold. I remember hearing dogs bark in the distance. The marina was gated, but the lock had been broken. Inside, 2 infected were dragging themselves between the docks. They didn't speak or groan. They didn't look human anymore, but they were slow. Andrea swung a broom handle at one, and it barely noticed. I grabbed the hammer and hit one in the jaw as it reached for me. The blow crushed the side of its face and it fell. It didn't cry out. It just stopped moving. The second one slammed into a piling and kept pushing until we shoved it back and climbed over the railing. We found the boat. It wasn't big, maybe 22 feet, fiberglass hull, no cabin, just a small storage compartment under the bench. Andrea said Salvatore used to take it fishing. We pushed off without checking the fuel tank or gear. I didn't know how to do anything. Andrea steered. I bailed water with an old cup. We drifted into open water by dawn, heading away from the coast without direction. We didn't last long together. Andrea panicked every time the radio picked up static. He thought everything was a sign of infection. By the third day, he was convinced we had to go back inland and find his wife. I told him I couldn't help him with that. He waited until I was asleep and took the emergency dinghy, leaving me a note that just said, "Sorry." The small boat we'd taken from the marina had a soft-bottom emergency dinghy strapped across the bow when we launched. I hadn't noticed it at first. It was half deflated, tied down with sun-faded straps. Andrea pointed it out when we were already a few miles offshore, but we both dismissed it. No paddles, no motor. Just something you'd inflate in a panic and hope you could drift in. He must have spent the afternoon pumping it up with the foot pump from under the bench while I tried to get the outboard running. I didn't hear him working, didn't hear anything. I was alone. The wind was weak, and the little outboard ran only for half an hour before dying. I drifted, followed shorelines from a distance, and avoided harbors. I saw fires in Livorno, and black smoke columns near Civitavecchia. I ate beans and dry pasta soaked in seawater, and spat most of it back up. I collected rain when I could. I didn't fish. I didn't know how. I made it to Giglio Island once. The shore was rocky, and I anchored in a narrow inlet. I went inland for 3 hours. The town was abandoned. I found one bottle of water and a rusted diving knife. I heard movement in a small grocery and didn't stay long. I never went ashore again. Then I saw something on the horizon west of Elba. It looked like a building floating on the water. I got closer and saw it was a Megayacht. White hull, glass panels, at least 3 levels above the deck. It didn't move much, just drifted slow and steady. The Megayacht appeared off the starboard bow a few days ago, a bright white block on a dull sea, sitting wrong, like a bus parked across a narrow street. I kept my distance and watched through old binoculars. By late afternoon I saw a line of lights along the main deck and an open shade on the upper deck, and for a moment I thought I saw a person behind the glass. I did not go near it. I kept a mile off and drifted with it through the night. The next morning the lights were on again for an hour, and then they went dark. The third night there were no lights and no sound. On the fourth morning, which is today, I could not pretend I had time to wait for a better sign. I ate the last half of a stale cracker and made my decision. I have a life jacket that smells like old rubber, a headlamp with one bright setting and one red setting, a small claw hammer, a long kitchen knife with a cracked handle, a roll of tape, a few zip ties, a cheap radio that still turns on and finds static, a small bottle of alcohol gel I ration like medicine, and a coil of thin rope. I also have a cheap whistle, a lighter, a roll of thin cord, and a photograph of my mother that I do not look at often because it makes my judgment soft. I check everything twice, then a third time for the knife and the whistle. I drop the dinghy into the water and tie a line from my stern to the yacht's stern so I can pull myself back if I fall or panic. The sea this morning is flat, with small swells that rock but do not punish. I time my approach and bump the rubber tube against the yacht's stern platform. I do not like how big the steel grid feels under my feet through that rubber. It does not move. I feel small and exposed. I climb the fixed ladder on the starboard side and keep my weight close. I do not look down. The beach club is open. A teak table sits with cushions scattered on the floor. A folded towel is on a chair, as if someone put it there and stepped away for a phone call. I listen. The only sound is the slow push of water and a deep hum far inside the hull. Air on my skin is cool. That means some air handler still runs. I do not know for how long. I do not know how to keep it running. I will not touch anything that can blow gas or put fire into a closed space. I wedge the beach club door with a rubber chock so it cannot lock behind me. I loop a bright ribbon on the handrail at the ladder to mark my exit in panic light. I breathe through my mouth and taste metal and something sweet and wrong under the cool air. I do not name it. I move. The tender garage opens into a wide space with benches and tools. 2 jet skis sit tied down, glossy and silent. A rack holds wetsuits. A wall holds paddles and a long aluminium boat hook. I take the boat hook and the thickest wetsuit glove and pull them on. I check under the jet skis with a hand mirror I find in a toolbox. Clear. I spot a fuel locker and open it. 2 plastic cans stand inside. I lift one. It sloshes, half full. I carry both to the beach club and tie them off at the rail for later. I keep the lines short so a swell will not yank them. There is a trail of dried blood on the non-slip flooring. It arcs from the garage toward the crew corridor. It is not a pool. It is a drag of a heel or a hand. I do not follow it yet. I want to know if anything can trap me. I find the engine room door and look through the small glass. The space is bright and polished. A control panel shows green lights I cannot interpret. I stare at it without reading any meaning. A generator hums somewhere below or behind that glass. I stop myself from touching the handle. I know enough to know that a wrong system in there can flood a space with gas or kill a flame, and also kill me if I am inside. I am not a mechanic. I will not try to be. The crew corridor stretches ahead, lit in patches, with doors open on each side. I keep the boat hook forward and the knife in my other hand. I do not trust the knife. It is too short. It is what I have. The first door is a laundry. I push it wide with the hook and step left, then right, then in. Washers, dryers, baskets with folded towels. No sound. I leave the door open so I can see into it with a quick glance later. The next door is a dry store. Pasta in bags, rice, tin tomatoes, tin fish, bottled water stacked in cases. I put my hand on a case and feel the shape of the bottles through the thin cardboard, and a sense of relief runs through me like honest air. I stage 2 small cases by the corridor and loop thin cord through the handles and tie them to a railing so I can grab them on the way out. I do not stand still long enough to cry or anything like that. I move. 2 bodies lie in the crew mess near the hatch. Grey uniforms, black shoes, faces pale, hands open. I do not step close. I use the boat hook to touch ankles. No movement. I slide the hook under a belt and pull. One arm flops and then stills. The other does not respond. I do not waste time on wide stairs. I pick up a key ring on a belt loop and pocket it. I take a cloth and lay it over one face to give my mind a job other than counting teeth. I keep going. The crew lounge holds a wall of screens. Some show black, a few show static. 4 show clear pictures. A big room with a piano and a bar, a stair with a curve, a corridor with a patterned rug, and an elevator car. No one moves in any of them. I do not trust that. I do not relax. I prop the lounge door open with a stool and draw a chalk arrow on the wall pointing back to the stairs. The medical locker is next to the cold stores. The lock yields to the keys. I take bandages, antiseptic, a small suture kit I may never use, gloves, and a few blister packs of antibiotics. I put them in a bag and tie the bag shut with 2 knots. In cold stores, I find vacuum-sealed meat and cheeses and a crate of apples. The cold air burns my nose and feels clean. I take what I can carry and stage it near the stair, again with a short line knotted to something that will not move. Guest cabins on the lower deck tell a story I do not want to study but I cannot avoid. One door has a chair braced under the handle from the outside. I move it slowly and step aside as the handle turns once, twice, then stops. I lean in and listen. No moan, no shuffle, only the soft weight of something against a door. I swap the chair for a longer wedge and leave it shut. Another door opens on a room with a mirror broken across the sink and a scarf tied to a bedpost and cut. Dried blood on the edge of the bedspread. No bodies. I clear it fast and move on. The main stair rises to the salon. I keep my left hand on the rail and the hook forward. The carpet muffles my steps. The air is cooler here. Lights are on. The room looks like a magazine picture of money. The bar holds bottles that cost more than my rent. The piano lid is open. The flat screen on the wall is black. I do not walk into the center. I move along the wall and clear corners, then cross. No one is here. I move to the media cabinet and pull power to the speakers. The silence that follows is simple and good. I feel anger at whoever left music running in a boat filled with this much sadness. I breathe once and let it out and keep working. The owner's suite forward is locked. The keyring offers a match. I turn it and open the door 2 inches. A stale, sweet odor hits me from the seam. I close it and relock it. I am not being brave. I am being practical. A sealed room like that means I need more time, more light, and a plan. I do not have those right now. The galley is large and clean. Pots hang in a neat row. Knives sit on a magnetic strip, sharpened and waiting. I test 2, take the longer one, and slide it into a belt loop sheath I make from a folded towel. I find a heavy lid I can use as a shield. I find a chef jacket on a hook and put it on under my jacket to cover my forearm. It feels silly until I picture a bite there, and then it feels correct. I cut the power to a grinder that whines when I pass it. I do not want any machine to make noise unless I ask for it. The sky lounge above the salon shows a projector that froze on a dinner scene. I pull the plug. The exterior dining table has scrapes on one leg and a smear on the deck where someone pushed it toward the rail. I glance at the life raft cradles. Both are empty. The covers lie open, straps cut. Some people left in panic, not procedure. I move to the bridge. The panels are on. I see screens full of numbers and dials I do not understand. I do not touch any of it. A notebook sits on the console with neat handwriting. I skim the last page. It says that guests were moved to rafts, that the captain intended to hold the yacht on drift until a tender came back, and then ink smears across the lines. No dates, no names. I put it back where I found it. I'm about to leave the bridge when a soft chime sounds from an equipment closet near the pantry. A light flashes, and a hidden amplifier sends a short burst of piano out to the salon before power dies. That 2 seconds is enough to wake the boat. I hear a thump in the main stair, then a glass door stutter in its track. I freeze and listen. More steps. Not heavy, not fast, but purposeful. I do not stand in the open. I hold the sky lounge door and set my feet to force a choke point. 3 infected come into view on the stairs. One wears a white dinner jacket that is brown at the cuffs. One is barefoot and moves on stiff toes. One holds a scrap of cloth in a hand like a habit it cannot break. I do not talk to them. I do not wait for them to come up into open space. I let the first reach for the door frame, slam the lid into the face and pin it, then hook behind the ankle and pull forward. The body falls. I step and swing the long knife down. Once, twice. The second lunges on sight of motion, and I kick the knee from the side and stab low and pull out. The third slips on a smear and slides, and the movement buys me a second to finish the second. Then I finish the third. I drag the bodies by the ankles away from the doorway. I wipe my soles on a rug until they grip again. I do not allow myself a speech. This is not noble. This is survival. The elevator hums behind me like a cat inside a tin. I move along the hall wall and stand to one side of the doors. I press the button and step away. The doors part halfway and stick on something soft. A hand pushes at air. I pin the doors with the lid, hook the ankle, pull hard, and cut. I pull the breaker at the service panel, jam the doors open with the boat hook so the car cannot trap me later, and mark the switch with tape. I do not want this machine to decide anything for me. I go back through the salon and into the theater. The smell is sweat and plastic and a sweet note that says, medicine spilled and then dried. Folding chairs sit in a row on the stage with belts on the arms. I find a phone on a sound desk, dead but not cold. I press the button and the screen shows a slice of video. Crew members strapping a man to a chair, while a woman in a dress watches and presses her hands together until the skin goes white. Another slice shows a guard lifting a belt like a leash. I turn it off and slide it into a drawer. I do not want those pictures in my head. I spend the next hour doing small, boring work that helps when everything goes wrong. I wedge doors open that I want open, and I tie off doors I want shut. I move a rug from the stair landing to the side so my feet do not slide on blood. I carry 2 more cases of water to the stern and tie them to the rail. I make a small pile of tins near the beach club and cover them with a towel to hide the shine. I cut the power to any machine that makes a stray noise. I keep my ears open for that slow scrape that says a hand on a door and not a wave. When I check the owner's suite again, I do not open it. I write a note on thick paper from the bridge drawer and tape it to the mirror panel. Alive or undead unknown. Do not open without a plan. My hand shakes. I press the tape hard and step back and look at it and feel stupid, and then feel better. The note is for me more than anyone else. I need rules. I need lines I will not cross when I am tired, and want to do something heroic to impress a version of myself that does not exist. I return to the beach club and lower the staged bags and water into the dinghy. I look under the grid with the mirror and see only water and reflection. I drop into the dinghy and push off. I row a few strokes to clear the under-platform trap, and then start the outboard low. It coughs and catches, and I ease back to my sailboat on the retrieval line. I secure the lines without losing anything to the sea, and I haul each load aboard. I wipe the knife and the lid with alcohol and salt water and hang them in the sun. I sit on the deck and drink a small bottle of water and let my body calm down without naming anything inside it. I could leave now. I could take these tins and this water and move east with the wind until I reach the headland with a working light, anchor outside, and trade for fuel with whoever runs that light. I picture the inside of the yacht when the generator runs out and the air goes still, and the smell crawls out like a slow fog. I try not to picture it, and it comes anyway. I fix on something practical. The yacht has a pantry that could keep me fed for weeks. It has rooms that I can seal and clean and live in like a real person for a little while. It is not a safe place. It is less unsafe than a beach with a crowd. That is enough for me to decide. I am going back to secure a cabin and make a base. I can move between my little boat and the big boat as needed. I can sleep without my knees against my chest for one night. I need that. I make a list with a stub of pencil, things to carry on board and leave there. Bedding, water, food for 2 days, a spare headlamp, candles, a lighter, a bucket with a lid, a dry bag for the knife and the lid, a change of clothes, a book I have read too many times and still cannot finish because it makes me think of Lara, things to keep on my boat, the radio, the photograph, a stash of tins, tools, all the fuel, the fishing line and hooks. I add one more line in block letters. Never sleep here without marking the exit. The second boarding is easier. The ladder feels like an old friend with a crooked smile. The beach club smells the same. The hum from deep in the boat is steady. I do not think about what keeps it going. I do not touch that room. I carry in my bedding and tie a light rope from the stern rail to the door handle of the guest cabin I choose so I can find it in my sleep with my hand. I clean the cabin with wipes and water and a towel. I strip the bed and put fresh sheets on it. I close the head drain with tape because I do not trust any trap to block smell. I move a chair to the door to wedge it at night. I wedge the corridor door too. I check ventilation with a strip of tissue held near a vent. It pulls in and flutters. Good. I cut a slice of cheese and eat it with a stale cracker and feel something that is not joy and not sadness, but relief at a normal movement like holding a slice of cheese and eating it. I drink water slowly and plan the next round. I want to secure a route from this cabin to the beach club that I can defend and clear at night in a blackout. I run a mini drill. I turn off the cabin light and walk the corridor with the headlamp on red to keep glare low. I count steps to the stair. I count the steps to the curve. I count the steps to the garage door. I draw a small map on a notepad and mark the number of steps in the margin. I practice again with my eyes half closed. It looks stupid, and it works. I feel better. The afternoon gives me one test. A small motorboat appears on the horizon and runs parallel to the yacht at slow speed. It is the size of a taxi boat, with a sunshade and a man at the tiller. He holds a pair of binoculars. I watch him from the shadow of the upper deck, through a gap near a rail. He looks at the yacht for a long time. He does not see me. He cuts power and drifts and then starts again and leaves. He never comes close enough to see the dinghy tied at the stern under the platform. Maybe he is smart. Maybe he has a full boat and no room to gamble. I do not wave. I do not call. I stay small and quiet and still until he is gone. At sunset, I light one candle in the cabin and watch the flame steady. I eat a small bowl of pasta with oil and salt and a handful of olives I found in a jar. I do not pray or toast or talk. I set the candle in a deep saucer and move it to the floor near the bed where it will not fall. I hang a bell I found in a drawer on the inside of the door with a cord, low enough that I will bump it with my shin if I open it. I test it. It makes a small sound. Good. I roll a towel and place it by the door as a draft stop. I put the knife and the lid and the rope within reach and I lie down and I close my eyes. I do not sleep deep. I sleep in thin slices. Every time I wake I hear the same two sounds, the deep hum below and the soft tick of a cooling vent. Sometime in the night the hum stops. It is not a big bang. It is not a clatter. It is a slow fade like someone turned a dial. The candle is long dead. The cabin is dark. The air does not move. I wait for a minute to see if anything changes. Nothing does. I sit up and put on my shoes and grab the headlamp and turn it to red. I open the door and the bell whispers. I listen in the corridor. I hear something new now that the hum is gone. It is a scrape from far forward, slow and steady. I think I know where it is. I go the other way. In the crew lounge, the screens are black. I point the lamp away from the glass so I do not see my own face. I raise the red light and watch the reflections. Nothing moves. I keep the door open and head to the engine control room because I need to understand whether the power is gone for good or if there is a switch I can flip. I know I said I would not touch this, and I mean it, but I need to look. The control panel shows nothing. The dials are dark. The buttons that glowed before now look like ordinary plastic. I step back and shut the door. I will not change this by guessing. I move toward the beach club because moonlight and fresh air are the only things I trust. A muffled thud from the main stair freezes me in place. It comes again, then stops. I crouch in the corridor and hold the lid and the knife. I will not fight in open space. I back to the garage and take my stance with the door frame on my left. I wait. A slow shape comes into view at the corridor end. One arm out, testing air. It pauses at the mess door as if it knows this place. It is quiet enough now that I can hear it move the tongues of its shoes on the floor. It turns toward me on a sound I cannot hear. I do not give it time to adjust. I step in fast while it is still correcting and drop the lid into its face and drive it back into the wall, then strike and withdraw. I do not press for a second kill until it slides to a knee. Then I finish it. I drag the body by the feet into the laundry and close the door. I breathe through my nose and keep moving. I open the beach club door to the night and let cool air hit my face. The sea is black but friendly in a simple way, a flat plain with occasional small runs of ripples. My dinghy rocks at the stern line. I sit on the platform grate and look up at the stars, like I used to do as a child when my father took me camping near Lake Bracciano. I do not remember the stories he told. I remember how different air felt when we were away from cars. Tonight that same clean feeling tries to come through and does not quite make it. I eat a cracker and speak 3 words to myself because I need to hear my voice. I say, "Stay careful, Marco." Morning comes slow after a night of short sleeps and checks. The yacht is fully quiet now. No hum. No hiss of any fan. The air is stuffy but not foul. I prioritize water, light and waste. I rig a bucket with a tight lid and line it with heavy bags. I set up a wash bowl in the galley with a small amount of bottled water and a drop of soap and another bowl for rinse. I leave the windows shut and use a hand towel to wipe my face and neck. I eat crackers with cheese and a piece of apple. I plan a run to the upper deck to move chairs into a windbreak and set a small line with hooks for drying cloth. Simple tasks push back panic. On the bridge, I study the panels again even though they are dead. I look for anything marked manual or emergency. Nothing makes sense to my eye. I am angry at a wall of screens that give me nothing now that the hum is gone. I pull the notebook again and read the pages backwards, hunting for lists. I find a paragraph that mentions automatic shutdown on low fuel to protect systems. I cannot restart that without a key and knowledge, and I have neither. Okay, then I do not restart. I live without power except for headlamps and candles. I can manage that. By midday, the yacht drifts closer to the island. I can see a pale strip of beach and a few bright houses on a low ridge. I think about dropping anchor, but I do not know how to move this hull. I will not pretend. I drop a line with a small float to watch current and keep notes on drift speed and direction. I can use the dinghy to pull myself clear if I need to avoid rocks. The thought is ridiculous and true at once. I am a man with arm muscles against a boat that weighs more than a block of flats. I laugh without humor and then get back to work. I strip bedding and rotate it to dry in sun on the upper deck. I prop doors with wedges and marks so I never lose track of which is safe. I shut the theater and tie it shut, because I do not want the straps moving in my head each time I pass. I write the words "no entry" on a card and tape it up. I set up a small cooking station in the galley with a single gas ring. I test it once without lighting it to be sure I do not smell a leak. I open the galley door to the exterior for ventilation, then light it and boil water for noodles. The small hiss and the thin steam smells like simple life in a kitchen that used to hold 6 cooks. I eat and wash the pot and leave the surface clean. I choose a simple routine to keep me sane. Sweep, cook, check lines, rest, write notes, repeat. At dusk, I sit in the salon with a candle stub and write 3 lines. First day aboard yacht. Power failed at night. Drift toward island at a slow crawl. I add a line about the owner's suite door and about the infected count. I tape the note to the inside of the cabin door so I see it when I close my eyes. I sleep short. I wake at every sound. I hold the knife and then force my hand to relax and put it down so I do not cut my own leg in my sleep. On the second day aboard, I hear an engine long before I see the boat. It sounds like an old outboard pushed hard. I cut the candle and step into the shadow of the sky lounge and watch through the glass. A small rib approaches from the east with 2 men. One stands with a long pole. The other sits and steers. They run along my starboard side slow, look up at the windows, and circle once across the stern. The standing man points to the beach club. The steering man shakes his head. They cut speed and drift. I do not move. I am a statue in the dark. They shout in Italian that anyone aboard should answer. I hold my breath. They listen. They mutter about risk and say something about a trap and an anchor not set. They start the motor and leave. I do not unclench until their wake is gone. Human risk equals or exceeds infected risk. I need a plan for uninvited guests. I cannot fight 2 men at once if they are healthy and mean. I can make boarding hard and loud. I take a coil of thin line and a handful of small stainless cups, and I tie the cups along the line and hang it from 3 points near the main boarding ladder, so cups will clatter if someone lifts it. I wedge the beach club door hard. I run a second line low across the platform tied to 2 cleats so someone steps into it at ankle height, and I tape a strip of foam over it to make it look like part of the platform edge. It will not stop anyone, but it will slow and alert me. I move my sleeping place to the lower deck cabin with 1 door, and I wedge a steel water jug behind it. I move a heavy box to block the corridor angle near the stair. It is not elegant. It is practical. I make a mistake late that afternoon. I go back to the crew lounge to check the cameras without thinking, and I flip a wall switch out of habit. Lights pop on in the corridor, and then die in a blink. The sudden flash draws a sound from forward. It is not an infected sound. It is a human voice that barks once in surprise. I freeze and kill every light within reach. I slide to the door and listen. Footsteps pound on carpet. A male voice says a short word. Another voice answers from outside through a cracked door. The hinges creak. I back into the mess and hide behind the steel counter, with the knife at my chest and the lid on my knee. I hear 2 bodies move through the corridor. Shallow breaths, steady boots. They stop at the lounge and push the stool. It knocks into the jamb. One of the men opens the door and shines a flashlight. The beam sweeps the screens, the chairs, the floor. It slides past the mess door and keeps going. One says that the big rooms are clear and that the little rooms smell wrong. The other grunts. They keep moving toward the garage. I hold until the beam fades, and then I slip the other way toward the stair. I move like a man walking past a sleeping dog in a narrow alley. I do not confront men who are fresh and armed. I know that lesson. I retreat to the cabin, close and wedge the door and wait. I hear small clatters from the beach club, a curse, a stumble, a laugh. The cups clink, the laugh stops. There is a muttered argument through the door, and then silence. I hold my breath and count in slow tens. After a long time, the cups clink again, as someone tests the line with a finger. Then nothing. I wait another long set of tens. No more noise. I ease the wedge away and crack the door and look. Hallway is empty. I step out. I keep my feet on the edges of the rug to reduce sound. I reach the lounge and look at the screens even though they show nothing now. Out of broken habit, I slide to the garage and look at the undergrid pocket. No one is there. The dinghy line hangs still. The men left the way they came. Maybe they wanted a quick hit and did not like silence. Maybe they will return at night. Either way, my choice is clear. I need a better deterrent. I spend the next hour on a simple alarm. I tie a line from the beach club door to a metal rod and hang the rod inside a pot on a shelf. If the door opens hard, the rod will strike the pot twice. I test it. The sound is thin but sharp. I rehang the cups line and add 2 more cups. I tape a hand-painted sign to the stern rail that reads, "Quarantine inside" in 2 languages. It will not stop a desperate man, but it might make a cautious one hesitate. I keep the knife near and the lid closer. That night, the mirror door scrapes again. I lie on my bunk and stare at the seam of my cabin door and think about the other door forward. Someone put his or her hands on that mirror and pushed. The sound is not the scratch of nails. It is a slow palm push in steady pulses. It is the sound of someone who once had a schedule and a staff, now reduced to a motion he or she cannot break. I do not go. I will not open it. I repeat that sentence out loud and hear the way my voice flattens. I sleep in small slices and wake each time my ear tries to invent footsteps in the corridor. On the 3rd day aboard, rain starts in the morning. A small squall rolls out of the northwest and taps on the deck with a steady rhythm. I run to the upper deck with a tarp and a pair of buckets and set a simple rain catch with the tarp tied to a rail and slope to feed into the buckets. The first liters hit plastic and sound clean and perfect. I cap the buckets and carry them below and fill bottles. I set the catch again and repeat. For a few hours I am not a man fighting infected or men with poles. I am a man catching water and smiling at it. The small victory lifts me enough to think straight about the next task. Food that is not crackers and tinned tuna. The galley hides many options. I do not take anything that will rot without refrigeration except what I can eat fast. I work through dry goods first. I organize tins by content and date stamp. I take a bag of rice and a bag of lentils and write down how much I used. The act of writing steadies me. I find a small locker labeled spices and take a pinch of salt and a pinch of dried herbs and put them back. The smell wakes a part of my brain I neglected since I left the cafe. I cook a small pot of rice with a handful of lentils and a few olives. I eat slowly and feel warm and full for the first time in weeks. In the afternoon, a piece of debris hits the hull with a dull bump. I go to the rail and look down. It is a broken paddle, painted blue. I fish it with the boat hook and pull it up. I set it near the stern door without thinking. An hour later, the cups clink. I freeze. Slow steps on the platform. A voice whispers in a language I do not know. I hear a wet cough. I move to the hull window and peer through the edge of the shade. 2 figures stand on the platform. Both are soaked. Both stare at the beach club door. One holds a small child in his arms. The child is limp and silent. The man with the child looks at the other man and shakes his head. The other man points at the quarantine sign and spits in disgust and reaches for the handle. I do not move. I wait. The first man puts a hand on the second man's wrist and stops him. They argue. The child does not move. The first man backs away with the child and the second man follows, angry but obedient. They climb back into a low boat I did not see at first because it sits flush with the platform edge. They drift away. I stand still and listen to the sound of the boat fade. I feel empty and angry at the world and angry at the sign and angry at myself. I do not change the sign. That night I sleep on my sailboat instead of the yacht. I do it to reset my head. I anchor the dinghy to the stern and keep the line to the yacht tied. I lie under a thin blanket and stare at the mast and count stars, and think about Lara, and about my mother, and about a girl at the cafe who used to order the same almond pastry every Friday. I try to remember if I ever asked her name. Probably not. I was a careful sort of man. Careful does not always mean good. The sea rocks me like a bus on a slow road, and I finally sleep. I wake before dawn to the soft scrape I learned to ignore on the yacht. It echoes over the water in the quiet hour. The sound is not loud. It is specific. I sit up and listen harder. It is the mirror door, or another door like it, opening and closing, as if a hand pushes and a spring returns it. No other sounds follow. I stand and pull the dinghy line in and step aboard, then climb to the beach club and stop at the threshold to listen again. Nothing. I set my jaw and make a fast decision. I will clear one more space this morning, then I will leave the rest closed until I have to do it. I move through the salon with the knife and the lid, first light coming through glass. I stand at the owner's suite door and do not open it. I walk to the next door, a smaller study I passed before. The key ring opens it. The room is quiet and smells like old paper and medicine. A desk with a leather pad holds a fountain pen and a stack of cards with names in careful script. Shelves hold books on vineyards and art. A smaller door stands to one side. I push it open with the hook and step back. A panic alcove sits behind it with a couch, a bottle of water and a blanket. No one here. In the corner a camera blinks a dead red light. I unspool the blanket and find a paper roll and a marker. I write 2 new notes. One says that there is water in the galley and that the big rooms are silent. The second says that the yacht is drifting toward the east end of Elba and gives my best guess at speed. I tape 1 note on the bridge wheel and 1 on the salon door. It is the best I can do for strangers who will not listen to a sign that says, "Quarantine." On my way back to the galley, I hear a sound below my feet at the platform. It is a human voice, low and steady, speaking into a phone. I cannot make out the words. I slide to the stern and peer through a gap. A man sits in a small open boat with his back to the yacht, holding a phone to his ear. He speaks for a minute and then puts the phone in his pocket and looks up. Our eyes meet. He raises his hands a few inches to show them empty. He says in French, "Do not worry. I am going." He shows me a small bag of tins and then drops the bag in his boat and paddles away without starting the engine. He grows smaller and then vanishes behind a low swell. I stand still and breathe. The sea is full of people who want different things. I cannot guess which ones want to rip me apart and which ones want to pass like fish. In the afternoon, the drift brings me within sight of a ferry pier on the island. The pier is broken. A car sits with both doors open and no glass in the windows. A small kiosk flies a flag with the wrong colors for any country. A piece of tarp with a painted symbol that could be an anchor or a letter. I let the yacht drift past without drawing attention. I go below and pull a clean shirt from a closet and smell perfume that is still trapped in the fabric. I put the shirt back and close the door. I do not want that smell in my nose. It will lie to me. The 4th night, the men return. This time they come with a 3rd man and a bright light. They circle once and come to the stern. The light sweeps the platform and then jumps to the upper deck windows. I lie flat on the sky lounge floor behind a low couch and keep my headlamp in my fist with my thumb on the switch. The beam slides over the glass and away. The men speak in a dialect I do not catch. One climbs onto the platform and tests the door. The rod hits the pot and the sound rings. He flinches. He laughs and shouts that this is a house with toys. He reaches into his bag and takes out a small crowbar. I hold the lid and the knife and force myself to wait for a second sound before I move. The second sound does not come. The first man stops and listens. He lowers the bar and looks at the water. He says that the tide is wrong for a quick job and that he wants nothing to do with the rich house. He steps back into the boat. They drift away. I lie on the floor for a long time after the wake fades, just breathing and thinking about nothing at all. I last a week aboard the yacht that way. I clean, cook, collect water, avoid the owner's suite, avoid the theater, tie alarms, and keep notes. I do not touch engines. I do not try to turn lights on. I live like a careful animal that found a dry cave. I go to my sailboat every other night to remind myself that I am not trapped on the big boat. I fish once with a handline and hook a small silver fish and cook it with salt and lemon I find in a basket in the galley. I feel like a king, and then feel shame because the dead deserve more respect than a man bragging over a fish in a stolen kitchen. I do not dwell. I keep breathing and moving and writing. The worst day comes on the 9th day aboard. The sound starts at dawn. It is the mirror door, not scraping, but banging. A heavy push with weight behind it. Then a crack, like wood stressed and failing. I stand in the salon and stare at the seam, and know what is about to happen. I do not run game in my head. I move. I move chairs into a low barrier. I plant my feet and hold the lid and the knife. I say one sentence to the man or woman behind that door. I say, "Stop." The door shudders again. The seam opens half an inch. A breath of sweet rot spills into the room. The door opens another inch. A pale hand pushes into the gap and drags nails down the wood like a slow rake. The barrier is nothing to this push. It will slow for a moment and then fail. I do not wait. I pull the chair aside and let the infected through the only opening at an angle that works for me. He steps through, tall and thin, wearing a silk robe smeared with dried stains, face grey and dry, eyes unfocused, jaw working. The smell is a wall. I plant the lid in his chest and shove him back into the doorframe, and he keeps moving with the lid pressed to sternum. He is strong in the way that tired men are strong when they forget limits. I step sideways and drop low and cut hard into the side of the knee and back out. He falls. He does not slow. He crawls. I back up 2 steps and finish him. The silence after is like taking off tight shoes. I do not feel satisfaction. I feel tired. I drag the body to the study and cover it with the blanket from the panic alcove and close the door. I write a new note for myself. Do not open. If it opens, finish it fast and cover it. Then clean. I scrub the floor with bleach from the cleaning closet. I use gloves. I throw the gloves away when I am done. I open the exterior door for air and wait. I do not eat for hours. I sit on the step with my back against the door and look at the water and the sky and try to keep my breath slow and even. When I finally stand, my legs shake. I walk it off. I gather the cups and retie the alarm. I boil water and make tea and drink it with small sips. I sleep that night on my small boat with the knife on my chest because I do not trust the quiet. On the 10th day, I decide to leave the area. The yacht drifts near a place with too many boats and too many hungry men with loud outboards and tools. I do not know how to anchor the yacht. I do not know how to steer it. I will not learn in a panic. I move back into my sailboat and lash the dinghy at 2 points. I take tins and water down to the cabin. I take the knives, and the lid, and the cookpot, and the rain-catch tarp. I leave the note on the salon door and the note on the bridge wheel. I close the doors I can close and tie shut the doors I cannot trust. I stand on the beach club one more time and look into the mirror of the owner's suite and see my own face pale under dirt and beard, and I nod to him like I recognize him, and then I climb down and push off. I set a small triangle of sail and let the wind carry me east. The yacht shrinks behind me and disappears in haze. I feel both lighter and smaller. I run along the coast at a respectful distance and stay clear of harbors with smoke or flags. On the 2nd day, I anchor outside a rocky point with a ruined watchtower. A boy on a board paddles near with a fishing net tied to his waist. I wave, and he waves, and keeps distance. He asks in rough Italian if I have water to trade. I give him a bottle and he gives me 2 small flatfish and says if I come back next week I should whistle twice and he will bring more. I say yes. He paddles away. He does not ask my name. I do not offer it. At dusk, I sit in the cockpit and talk to myself in a low voice so the sound feels normal. I speak my name and age and city again. I say the names of my mother and Lara and Luca and tell the water I am sorry I could not do more for any of them. I say the names of the places I passed and the shape of the yacht and the feeling of the lid under my hand. I say that I am going to keep moving until I find a place where someone still keeps a radio schedule and a few rules. I say I will not open doors just because I hate the sound of them. Then I stop talking, and eat fish and bread, and lie on my back and look at the stars, and try not to see the mirror panel. Morning brings a small swell and a thin wind. I make coffee with instant powder I found in a forgotten locker. The first sip tastes like a past life. I catch myself smiling and it feels strange on my face. I cut it short and get to work. I check the lines. I check the anchor. I check the sky. I look at the shore with the glasses and mark 2 chimneys with white smoke that looks like cooking, not a house burning. I set a course and follow it. I keep the sail trimmed and my thinking simple. If I see trouble, I hide. If I see a chance to trade, I try. If I hear a voice that tells me to tie up close, I do not do it. If the wind dies and the current pulls me toward a crowded pier, I drop the hook and wait. This is not bold. This is what keeps me alive. I keep a log now like the captain who wrote neat lines in the book on the bridge. My book looks different. My lines are short and plain. Day 11, left yacht, drifted east, traded with a boy, cooked fish. Day 12, passed a town with smoke and did not stop. Saw 2 boats fighting near a buoy. Heard a woman cry and did not change course because I could not tell if it was a real cry or a trap. Day 13, slept badly, dreamed of the mirror door, woke at dawn and ate bread and watched 2 gulls fight over a wrapper. Writing these lines keeps my hands honest. It also keeps me from turning into the sort of man who survives without record. The world ashore is broken in different ways in different towns. In one place, I see a schoolyard with a tent and a line, and a man in a bright vest with a clipboard who tries to wave a group into order. The line dissolves when a truck backfires, and 3 infected shuffle in from a side street, and men with sticks run to meet them. The group breaks and runs. I do not watch the end. In another place, 2 boats meet at a pier, and men unload crates while a woman with a red scarf watches with a pistol in her belt and face like stone. She laughs once, and then stops and shouts, and the men lift faster. There is order there, even if it is harsh. I watch and then slip away. One night I see a light pattern on the horizon that looks like a regular signal from a working lighthouse. My chest tightens in a way I refuse to name. I set course for it. When I get close, I see that the light is a fixed lamp on a tower, not rotating. A small crew set it and keeps it burning. A man on a little jetty waves a long stick with a flag tied to it and signals for me to anchor outside a line of buoys. I do. He rows out and speaks Spanish and Italian and a few words of French all mixed. He asks if I am sick, if I have bitten, if I carry anyone. I say no to all, and he nods. He offers water for tins and alcohol for a length of rope and a small hook. I trade 2 tins and keep my rope. He tells me there is a morning radio schedule on a working frequency and gives me the numbers in words. He tells me to move on after 2 nights because a group inland wants the headland and the crew does not want a gathering here. I nod. He rows away. I sleep that night with my hand on the knife and the second knife under my pillow. I am tired of this habit and grateful for it. I listen to the radio in the morning. Voices from far and near trade small news like bread. A woman from Bastia says there was a fight at the gas depot and it ended with flames. A man from a village near Piombino says a group posted a list of names on a church door with a note that said quarantine broken. He reads 5 names in a calm tone. A man from a boat says he saw a large white yacht drifting with doors tied shut and a sign that said keep out. He did not board. He called it a bad place. I write down his words and sit with them. Then I shut the radio and get back to work. Before dark, I walk the perimeter with a wrench in one hand and the flare gun in the other. Nothing moves but the sea. I go below, lock the cabin, and turn off the lights. Then I sit quietly on the floor near the window and listen. Not for radio voices, not for the infected, just for the sound of water against steel. This is where I am now, and until something changes, this is where I stay. That's all for now. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to keep the stories alive. For now, stay quiet, stay vigilant, and stay alive. Jack's Nightmares, signing off. Until next time, survivor.